So John, really appreciate you coming by today.
Happy to be here.
Now, tell the audience a little bit about you and your company.
So I'm the president of Morvang. We've been in business since 1979. I joined the company in 91. Kind of followed that traditional journey of a small local commercial printing business. Gone through a lot of changes, as our industry has gone through many changes. We've evolved into what I like to think of our firm now as very creative. Obviously we have creative services, software services, but we're just really thinking about the future of the business and what's going to replace all the printing that seems to be missing from our economy these days.
What was it about what we were doing that, kind of convinced you to spend, frankly, a lot of time helping us lead the organization by being a member of our board?
The main thing that interested me originally was an opportunity to have a dialogue with the OEMs, the manufacturers of the equipment that we're dependent on. Obviously, though, as I came aboard, I saw this treasure trove of research and ideas around the industry beyond just equipment, and that really, quite frankly, is the number one piquing of my interest.
Great. Well, let's talk about one of those research pieces, and that's really the topic of the day here, and that's a report that we did recently about the future of the U.S. retail market. As many people are aware, the retail industry is huge. We are a retail and consumer-based economy, and a lot of print gets put into the retail market. And the study that we released speaks to the future outlook of retail, and in some cases it's bright, but in some cases the future's looking pretty bleak right now. So when you were reading through the report, what were some key takeaways for you that you're going to now use to guide the direction of your business?
So I try to take an economist view of the world. I try not to think of things as bleak or great. They just are. And as someone who's run a business through a fairly complicated series of economic events that have affected my industry, I've learned to just not take it personally. I will say, however, that the printing industry seems to believe that we are have the monopoly on misery as far as how technology has disrupted the value of our products and services. The reality is that so much of the forces that disrupted us have also moved into the retail world and are disrupting how we shop, how we buy things, the types of things that we think we need to buy. And in the process of doing that, like what I like to say, the one constant in our world is change. And the retail industry right now, I believe, is poised to go through a pretty dramatic change. I believe that there's a lot of things that we look at retail that are legacies of what was. They're waiting for leases to run out, but their great minds in retail are thinking about what this future looks like in a modern e-commerce world. The news in your report I found very valuable. Most people in my industry spend a lot of time thinking about the products and the manufacturing process as opposed to the places where our products go. Retail, anywhere from 50 to 75% of the wide format business that I'm in is delivered to a retail establishment. And I can tell you from looking at it from a client side and quite frankly much more detail in your report that retail is changing.
Besides our retail report, I know you've availed yourself of many of our other studies and research and white papers. Talk to me a little bit about the ones that you found most useful, and also be very open and honest with me in terms of what are some other topics that we should be looking at as we are turning the calendar here into 2020.
There's a paper coming up on packaging, trends in packaging. I think it's interesting, when you look at just general consumer behavior right now, there's a huge concern of plastics in the world. Well, that seems like a very good opportunity for my wide format business, which is probably going to see less of a retail establishment client base coming with growth opportunities. So for us, thinking about how the trends in packaging are going to evolve and the implications for that in the printing industry, I think are really something that interests me. I've got the infrastructure to do packaging. We do a lot of short-run packaging right now. And I see that as a place where there's a lot of opportunity. So I'd like to read that. I'm also, just in general, we do a lot of research about ourselves and about silos of business. I'd really passionate these days about consumer behavior, right? I think some of our best new ideas are going to be driven by consumers. And I find the print industry is often catching up to that behavior. It would be fun for us to have some reports, research where we can actually maybe get ahead of that, invent the product that isn't quite there yet.
Why should a print service provider consider looking at APTech as an organization for them?
Well, I think there's a couple of reasons. One is, quite frankly, the reports that you guys do generate are, they're not warm and fuzzy, right? They're honest and truthful, right? I mean, let's be honest. There is less than half of the printing business in 2019 for an index for inflation than there was in the year 2000. There's not going to be enough work for all of us to survive. And if we're going to start having real conversations about how we do evolve, how we do stay relevant in this changing world, it's going to come from truly frank discussions about the types of changes that we have to make and the types of things that we have to abandon. I think there's a place for the OEMs, for the printers, to be involved in that thoughtful conversation. The reality now is that both the OEM and the printer need to be thinking about what are the most valuable things that we can make, right? Because quite frankly, printing is very easy now. It's very expensive to get into, right? It's a high bar, hard to jump in as a small business. But once you're in it, I mean, the equipment is fantastic. We need better products to keep those pieces of equipment busy. And if we get our heads aligned on that, research like this, I think there's plenty of opportunity for us to grow.
Well, I think that I appreciate those comments. I appreciate the remarks on our report. I think this is our U.S. report on retail is really only one of many areas of research that we do. The research is intended to help printers be better at being better businesses and at helping adjust through this time of change and constant disruption. So appreciate you coming by, commenting on your business, introducing folks to who you are, and also making a pitch for the Association for Print Technologies and some of the work that we're doing. So
happy to be getting the kind of research that is coming from a perspective to inform me as opposed to sell to me. It's a real pleasure to be able to read something like this.
All right, well, thanks, John.
Thank you.